Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Come on in. Good morning out there on Instagram world. Welcome. Come on in, everyone. All right. Hi, everybody on Zoom. Thanks for joining us. Hi, everybody on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to get all logged in and hear about our simple hybrid plan. We're super excited. Come on in. All right, folks. Just let everybody come on in. I wish I knew how to turn off that doorbell noise. I don't know if you all can hear it, but it's really unfortunate. If you're on Instagram, thanks for signing in. I'm Dr. Wieswright, Ryan Wieswright, the principal at McAuliffe. We've done a couple of these, so I think we're getting a little bit better at it than we were before. But today we're just going to be going over what our hybrid plan is going to look like at McAuliffe Middle School. We've got a presentation that we're going to do, and while everybody gets signed in, because it's just now 9 o'clock, I'm going to make sure that we go over kind of what this will look like, what our next hour together will be, and how we're going to efficiently get through a lot of material and a lot of important information that you're going to need to know to help your kid be successful at McAuliffe starting next week, but also a chance for you to ask any questions that you might have and get a response. And so if you're on Zoom, we are going to be utilizing the chat feature. I'm going to keep all participants muted just because, for example, there's already 90 of you on here, and I just think that it might be too much for us to have to navigate all of those questions at the same time. But my admin team is going to be participating separately, and so they're monitoring both the Instagram and the Zoom chat, and they're going to try to respond to any written questions as we go through the presentation. So if you do have a question as things come up, they're going to try to chime in and answer those questions. If you would like to save your questions to the end, today's presentation, my slides should only take about 30 minutes, and then the time at the end is saved for question and answer. And so if you'd like to save those questions to the end and get a verbal response, or maybe if it's something that is kind of nuanced and specific and you just want to hold it, because our admin team might not be able to address it, or it might be something that we have to look up and get back to you because, spoiler alert, we don't have all of the answers to all of the questions. So if you're just joining us, again, I'm Ryan Wieswright, principal at McAuliffe, and today we're going to be going over what the plan is going to look like when we bring students back safely starting next Tuesday, September 22nd. I've got a slide presentation that we're going to go through together. At the end of this meeting, I'm going to be sharing out both the slide deck presentation as well as the recording of our time together. And so it's 9:02. I feel really confident getting started to honor everybody's time. So I'm going to go ahead and start recording on the Zoom. Oh, it's already recording. Look at that. And then Instagram, you're out there. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Alrighty, folks. So as I shared, and I apologize, Instagram viewers, that this is backwards. I still don't know how to fix that. If any of you young bucks or techies can help me for my next one, that would be great. But like I said, this presentation will be available. It's going to be posted on our website. It's also going to be shared out via Parent Square for you to view later, or for you to be able to flip through. Or really what we're going to encourage you to do is go over it with your student. We know that they're in class right now, learning a lot, which is important. But really what we want to be able to have happen is that kids come as prepared as possible for next week and what it might look like. There's a hyperlinked table of contents. And so when you get to that first slide, any section that you want to review with your kid or you want to go back to for more information is hyperlinked on there. This is going to be what we're going through today in our presentation. I'm not going to read the table of contents because we're going to have to go over it again anyway. But there's about 9 sections, and as I said, each section is hyperlinked, so if you click on it, you'll be able to go directly to that page and see some of the information that's on there. So a little bit about hybrid learning. We get this question a lot, is why are we going to hybrid instead of maybe either staying distance learning or going directly to um, uh, or maybe going directly to a block hybrid schedule. We really believe that the transition to hybrid learning is an important step in bringing everyone back to campus safely. So obviously our campus has been closed since March 13th. That was the last time that we had students here at McAuliffe, last time students were on campuses around our district. And we want to really build in this opportunity to make sure that we have strong systems in place to manage over 1,000 students that could be on McAuliffe's campus at a time. Now, a lot of our families have chosen LoSal at home, and that's a great option. But we still have about 900 kids that will participate in in-person instruction at McAuliffe. And so the hybrid setting just allows us to cut that number in half and really allow us to really make sure that our safety protocol and safety procedures are sound to allow for more spacing in our classrooms, that students don't have to share a desk with another student or be side by side with another student. And it also makes sure that we find ways to engage students meaningfully, both in person through direct live instruction and at home through asynchronous learning opportunities. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that might look like. And as I said before, if you're just joining us, my admin team is going to be helping to monitor the chat and making sure that any questions that get posted there, they can respond to throughout the presentation, also on the Instagram. But I will save time at the end for questions and answers. So if you have a question that you just want to hold until the very end, feel free to do so. That will make it maybe a little bit easier for us to get through the meat of the presentation. I want to pause for a second on this slide. The quote that we chose is, "Teachers have three loves: the love of learning, the love of learners, and the love of bringing the first two loves together." I can't stress enough or more sincerely how amazing the McAuliffe teachers are. They have been all in from the very beginning in making sure that we prepare our campus safely to bring students back. And they are very eager and very excited about having kids back on campus. And that's something that we're very fortunate to have. I'm very fortunate to have as a principal, is a staff and a team of teachers that can't wait to have your kids back in their classroom. And they want to do that safely, and they want to do that with the proper precautions. But I just want you to know genuinely how excited they are to have kids here. I think that there's been some misinformation out there and floating around about how secondary teachers feel. And I just want to, as the principal at McAuliffe, let you all know that the McAuliffe staff is here and they're ready to go. And so we've been working hard. We had a 2-hour meeting yesterday. We've been walking different classrooms. We've been really in the weeds together. And they are just so eager and excited about bringing your kids back. Additionally, I really want to shout out my admin team, Mrs. Vienna, Mrs. Olmstead, Mrs. Bergeron, as well as our office staff and our custodians, who have been working around the clock to make sure that this all happens. And I know that a lot of you who reach out, and I so appreciate it, recognize that this stuff does take a lot of time and it does take a toll on all of us, but they've been all in. And so I bring a parent perspective with me and in the type of school I would want my kid to go to. And I say with full confidence that at McAuliffe, we're ready. And we absolutely know that it's not perfect, especially the schedule, but we are ready to have your kid here, and we just can't wait to have them. And so thank you so much for trusting us to educate your child, for trusting us to do it safely, and for trusting us to do it during a pandemic. I went to a lot of school. I have a lot of student debt to prove it, but there was never a class about how to run a school during a global pandemic. So we're just learning it as we go. And I appreciate your partnership and your flexibility and your understanding as we get through this together. All right, into our presentation. The first thing we're going to be talking about is our hybrid learning schedule. So by now, this has been shared with everybody. A couple of changes from what was originally published. Not that this matters a ton from the parent perspective, but it is good to know. Students will participate in first period through fourth period in the AM cohort and the PM cohort on Monday and Thursday. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, they will do first period and fifth, sixth, and seventh period, Tuesdays and Fridays, AM and PM. The design there is really so that as a teacher, there's a couple of reasons, but as a teacher, that way they are seeing their entire second period all on Monday. So that when they assign homework or when they assign tasks, it's uniform across their entire second period, what second period is able to do, what synchronous learning opportunities they've had, combined with what asynchronous work they're going to need to do to supplement that learning. The other big change is that as a district at the secondary level, 6 through 12, we made the decision that all students will participate virtually every Wednesday. So originally, and if you have a student at one of our elementary schools, the design was cohort A came one week, cohort B came the next week. We really felt that it was best for pacing across a wide range of classes for students to all receive the same instruction on Wednesdays so that pacing wouldn't be off. Because if you can imagine a kid that only comes one Wednesday and then they don't show up till the next Wednesday, well, their learning and what they're able to do in their science class is going to then be off pace from a kid in the B cohort who might have the same class period and what they're able to do and where they are in their pacing. So it's really best for instruction. It's also more consistent for families. And I know that it's a struggle as a family to wrap your head around the hybrid schedule, but at least now instead of every other Wednesday, there is a set Wednesday plan. So that's our Wednesdays. A little bit about asynchronous learning. So asynchronous learning is a term that we throw around, synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is live, like what I'm doing now, direct interaction. Asynchronous is a general term used to describe student education, instruction, and learning that does not occur in the same place or at the same time. So homework is asynchronous learning. Watch this video on your own is asynchronous learning. Write this paper, read a book on your own. That is asynchronous learning. The state of California has mandated 240 daily minutes per student per day at the secondary level. We are using asynchronous learning opportunities to supplement our daily live instruction to meet that total of 240 minutes. So what that means is in hybrid learning, your kid is here on campus in class for 160 minutes a day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that 160 minutes counts toward our 240, but we need to come up with 80 additional asynchronous minutes in order to meet our state required 240 per day. Those minutes do not have to be live. So remember, asynchronous is something that you do not in the same place or at the same time. So 80 minutes of homework, 80 minutes of watching a video of preparing for class the next day. This is not going to be a perfect formula. So I want everybody to hear me say this. It is not going to be seamless that your child will spend exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes on homework or on asynchronous learning every day, and then they'll be done and able to move on. We really believe at middle school in helping to build those good study habits and study skills that students do kind of get to start to work at a pace that works for them. So what I mean by that is on Monday, a kid's gonna go to periods 1, 2, 3, and 4, either AM or PM. On Monday, they will have asynchronous work assigned to them for periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 classes, it's an average of 20 minutes per class on paper. We all know that if your child has second period PE, to have 20 minutes of homework in PE might not totally work out. But in an English class or reading a book or writing an essay, they might have to spend 20 to 40 minutes. But in order for us as a school and as a school district to meet the state requirement of 240 daily minutes, on paper, that's going to look like 20 minutes of asynchronous work per class. What you need to know as a parent is that your child will be assigned asynchronous learning or homework or additional work for the same classes that they participated in that day. Now, that doesn't mean, let's say your kid is in cohort A, yes, they'll have asynchronous work assigned to them for periods 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they might be able to do that Monday afternoon when they get home. But we all know middle schoolers, they might wait until Tuesday afternoon to do their work that was assigned to them Monday. And that's okay. That's really where we ask you as parents to step in and help you and help create schedules for your child that make sense. Because I know that if I was in middle school or high school, I probably am not going to do my asynchronous work that's due if Monday, that's not due until Thursday, probably not gonna do that till Wednesday or Tuesday to get ready for Wednesday. So it's really about managing the schedule, and I don't wanna get too lost in the weeds of you have to spend 80 minutes, you're chained to your desk to get all of your work done because it's the state mandate. That's really not what we're saying here. we as a school and as a school district are providing those asynchronous learning opportunities or homework or supplemental work to equal roughly an hour and 20 minutes a day. How your child tackles that work is really up to them and your family and how that works. Kids are not on this presentation right now. So you take that information and you discuss that with your student in a way that makes the most sense for you and your family. I know that there's probably some questions about that, and maybe the chat is blowing up a little bit. And I see that my admin is chiming in, so that's great. But I will, as I said, defer questions to the end, but that's the asynchronous learning expectations. Cohorts. Never have I been more happy to be a school principal than when we hit send at 3 p.m. on Tuesday and gave everybody their cohort A and B assignment. It was super smooth. Nobody had any issues with it. I just can't believe that 1,200 families, your calendar works out perfect with your work and your schedule and your kid at 2 other schools and 2 other cohorts, and every other Wednesday changes. Like, how nice is that? I'm kidding. That didn't happen at all. I've never had more emails in my life, and that's okay because I'm a parent too, and I totally understand the stress that being in cohort A or cohort B might cause for you and your family. And all kidding aside, I really am sorry. There's no perfect way to run a hybrid system. There's no perfect way to navigate schooling in a pandemic. At this point, we cannot accommodate any switches between cohorts. We could only really look at 2 things when assigning cohorts. The first one was balancing our sections. So we have 226 different classes at McAuliffe Middle School. That's 226 different sections, 226 different class rosters. And huge shout out to Shelby Olmstead, our school counselor, who painstakingly went through those rosters to make sure that we didn't overload any one class too heavy in the AM or too heavy in the PM. So I know that that's hard, and I sincerely apologize for the inconveniences and the stress that puts on your family. We feel that too, and some of the stories out there are really, really difficult for us to grapple with. However, we also have to move forward with what is safest and what falls under our guidelines and our capacity guidelines for our classrooms. So I'm not going to be able to have a class in either cohort A or B that is over 20 students large, because that's not fair. That doesn't fall under what we're trying to achieve in a hybrid setting. And so many of your cohort requests, while maybe we could move one kid or, to make one area work, they have 6 other classes. And so the balance that requires is really complex. And I just want to thank you guys for your patience and your understanding. I also want to say that we're available. And so I really pride myself as a school administrator and as having a team that is really responsive to emails. And so if you've written me an email and I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. Please send it again, because we're really on top of our emails and in responding to those messages, because what we don't want and what isn't good for our school culture or our school community is for you to take to Facebook or for you to take information from Facebook or social media that maybe isn't rooted in something that's actually happening at the school. And so our message to you is just to reach out to me directly, to any member of our admin team, to get information and to get a straight answer. As you know, balancing those schedules is really difficult. And we feel for you as parents, we truly do. But my request is that you just come directly to us with those concerns, because we have answers and we have information, and we're going to do the best that we can. But just know that at the end of the day, the information that you're getting on Facebook might not be the most accurate. So I apologize about cohorts. I know that it's not perfect, and hopefully it doesn't last forever. All right, onward and upward. Again, we talked about how to check your cohort. I think everybody knows by now, but in case you need a refresher, under student info, demographics, you're looking at the user 9 field. All right, this random student was in A. So I know that makes some of you cringe. I apologize. All right, campus access. So guidelines for student arrival and dismissal. If you have a kiddo at the elementary school, this is going to sound fairly familiar. It's a little bit different at the middle school. We are not doing gates by alpha. We have a variety of gates that will be open, and we think that kids at middle school actually do a pretty good job of kind of dispersing evenly in the gates, and that you as a family can make a decision based on what's the best fit for where you guys go. But before you come onto campus, your student must have their mask on. This is middle school, and the California Department of Public Health guidelines, in partnership with California Department of Education, stipulate that a child must be wearing a mask when they are on a middle school campus. So your 6th, 7th, and 8th grader has to have a mask that covers their nose and their mouth. A face shield does not qualify as that. And additionally, your child's mask must follow dress code. And so the same sorts of guidelines and expectations that we set for student dress, what you might have on your shirt, has to match what's on your mask. So no inappropriate language, no inappropriate images, nothing that is not school appropriate. Those types of masks will not be permitted. We'll be issuing another mask if your child does come with a mask that is not acceptable to be worn at school. New this year, and I think that this might be a welcome change for some families. Previously, we did allow students to have their cell phones on in the mornings only when arriving on campus. Due to what's going on and kids gathering, and really it just being a better practice for them to get safely and quickly to class, we will not be allowing students to have their cell phone on or out when they're at school. So before you walk in that gate, your child's phone needs to be turned off and put away in a safe place. We don't want to see it. They'll be able to use it again at the end of the day. They're only in school for 160 minutes, remember? So they'll be able to use it again at the end of the day. And we really ask that they take that seriously. That is going to be one of our school rules. And also students must maintain 6 feet social distance. Students will bring their backpacks to school, but they will not need to bring their textbooks. Every class has a class set of textbooks. Students will also bring their Chromebook or other device to be able to access different types of online interactive learning. So please make sure that when you send your kid to school with their Chromebook or other device, that it's in a case or that it's safe and secure in the back part of the backpack, or however you want to work that out, because students also will not have access to their lockers. So there are no lockers, there are no PE lockers, and there are no street lockers. All students will carry their backpacks with them at all times. We're going to talk about what that will look like in a minute. Gate staffing. So the following gates are open. You don't need to memorize the numbers. It's super simple. Across the Cerrito slot, so the front drop-off, which since we don't have busing, parents, you may drive in through the Cerrito slot to drop off your kid in the morning. There'll be 4 gates open. The numbers are 1, 3, 4, and 8. They're very clearly labeled. In the Bloomfield lot, where a lot of our families enter, that space right between the cafeteria and the band room or the mini gym, that's the Bloomfield lot gate. It's gate number 12. It's labeled. The Outpost, which is another gate on the other side of the mini gym, that's gate number, well, it can't be gate number 3. That must be my mistake. I think it's gate 13. That will be clearly labeled and open. And then we also have the volleyball courts open. So if you're new to McAuliffe, you haven't done this before, but last year we put a hole in the gate. So if you're walking up Bloomfield Avenue, you're going to be able to turn into our volleyball courts and walk safely, so you don't have to walk across the parking lot, and come into campus over by our bike rack. And so that gate will be open. So there's multiple locations. We will not have the gates open between McAuliffe and LAE on the field. So students who maybe were used to walking across the field, you will not be able to use that way to get onto campus in the morning. Our school campus gates will not open until 8:25. That's for our AM cohort. Class begins at 8:35, so it gives 10 minutes for students to get safely through the gate and to class. And for our PM cohort, they will not open until 12:05. We will have campus security providing supervision in our outdoor amphitheater from 7:45 to 8:25. Now keep in mind, that is a finite amount of space. And so as a family, please make and again from 11:30 to 12:05, please make every arrangement to make sure that your kid comes to school right around that 8:20, 8:25 mark, so that they can safely make it in and they don't have to congregate in our outdoor amphitheater. We're going to have additional cabinet support to make sure that we have a safe opening. These are some district cabinet members. So again, cohort A times, 8:25, gates open. 8:35, class begins. 11:15, dismissal, and we are clearing our campus by 11:20 if you're in cohort A. Cohort B, 12:05, gates open. 12:15, class begins. 2:55, students are dismissed and must be off campus by 3 o'clock. I understand that this might pose a problem for your family with transportation. My encouragement to you, a couple of things. Designate a place not in our immediate parking lots that are really would be a better place to meet your kid. So if you go travel down Cerritos, the church is really gracious next door to us to allowing that to kind of be a meeting ground to pick up kids. If you cross the street and go into the neighborhood on the other side of Cerritos, that might be a place that a family could park. There are multiple options and places that you could meet your child to not overcrowd our parking lot. But unfortunately, we will not have students hanging out on our campus after dismissal, okay? This is what our outdoor amphitheater looks like. These are the dots that are going to designate the social distancing. The canopies are really for an outdoor class, so they're not going to provide shade for every child that's waiting to get onto campus. That's really for when our choir needs to go outside or a class needs to go outside for outdoor learning. These are the social distance markers up and down the Cerritos lot, which is the parking lot I just told you you'd be able to pull in, designating 6 feet apart. If you haven't seen a social distance marker yet, this is your opportunity. Come tour. So our campus will be open Saturday and Sunday, the 19th and 20th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to open our Bloomfield gate only. So that's on the big parking lot on the Bloomfield side. That gate will be open, and you and your family can have a walking tour of McAuliffe School campus. You will get to see all of the directional arrows. You can walk your child's class schedule. You can navigate what you're going to do if you have to leave room 20 and walk around the building to get to room 23. But we really want you to familiarize yourself with our campus before it opens. So our campus gates will be open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday. And we encourage you to come check it out because I think that that's going to help alleviate some stress, especially for our new families, but really for all families. The directional walkways, the arrows, that's all really different. And so we do encourage you to come and do that. Just be mindful while you're here. Teachers are feverishly setting up, that shouldn't have used the word fever. Urgently setting up their classrooms to welcome your kids back on the 22nd. And so we just want to make sure that you know that if you run into a teacher, they might not have the time or the space or the availability to answer a lot of questions right now. That's really something that we can navigate over email. But just know that you'll be able to walk our campus over the weekend. One thing I didn't mention, and I would like to mention now, it's in the slides, I just don't think I read it. Our office will be closed during the periods of 8:25 to 8:35 and 12:05 to 12:15 because we are using office personnel to staff our gates. So I apologize that I didn't mention that earlier. And then with zero period, which starts obviously before 8:25, all zero period students in the A cohort and the B cohort will be able to enter through the Bloomfield lot gate right next to our outdoor amphitheater right before their class starts. So that's another really important nuance is that all zero period students can enter campus in the Bloomfield lot gate only. That's gate number 12. All right, onward and upward. Campus visitor policy. So remember, it was on this slide too. Because of COVID restrictions, we are limiting the amount of people that come to campus. We're committed to being really responsive via email and phone to your questions and what you might have going on. But we ask that you don't come to our office with questions if it can be answered either over the phone or via email. So if you do need to come onto campus, you will need to wear a mask and enter through our front gate using the buzzer. And we ask that you maintain distance when in the office. We have markers down. But in general, we're limiting, no visitors will be allowed onto campus where all of the students are. And again, our office is closed daily from 8:25 to 8:35 and 12:05 to 12:15. Attendance procedures. Okay, I need to get my kid out early or I'm bringing my kid in late. No problem, that's normal. Although try not to do it because it's important that they're here and learning and they're only at school for 160 minutes, come on. But things happen and you're gonna go to our front gate on the Cerritos lot. You'll buzz to talk to an office staff member. The office, let them know that you're here for attendance and you're going to walk through our breezeway, not through the front office door, through our breezeway and turn right to end up at this attendance window, which will be open. I should have taken a picture with it open so it'll look more inviting in our presentation. And you'll be able to sign your student in or out on the clipboard that's there. Due to COVID restrictions and limiting the amount of people that are in the office, we really can't have your students pulled out of class and waiting in the office ahead of time. Sometimes those students tend to pile up. You try to make a call and have your kid come out early. We really ask that you plan ahead and try to make sure that we don't have to pull a kid out of class to sit in our office and wait for you to come and pick them up. Campus directionality. Remember when I said that my part was going to be 30 minutes and I'm only on part 3? I promised to pick it up. Let's aim for 40 minutes. So memorize this. Done. We put arrows all over campus. They're up on the walls. They're down on the ground. They really depict one-way traffic around most of our campus and most of our campus buildings. And you'll be able to see that if you come over the weekend. And your kids are brilliant. They're going to pick this up super quick. So don't bother memorizing it. But this is what the directional arrows look like. You'll see them painted all over campus. Our staircase, one way is up only if you're on the east end of the building. So over by like room 17 and 18, that is up only. And if you're on the west end of the building, closer to the NPR, that side is down only. Safety enhancements. So in the classroom, we get this question a lot. What's it look like when my kid comes to class? There'll be social distance markers to ensure that they're lined up a safe distance from the kid in front of them. At the door, they'll be doing a temperature and a symptom check. We do allow temperature checks on the wrist or the forehead. And so I know that there's some opinions about that. The reason that we allow the wrist is we've found that virtually the temperature is almost exactly the same. And it also limits that face-to-face contact between a teacher and a student. It's much safer to extend your wrist and have your wrist scanned than have to lean in and do a forehead scan. We also know that some families have concerns about the forehead scan, and we wanted to be able to provide an alternative there as well. When a child comes in, they're going to wipe and sanitize their own area. So it's their responsibility to make sure their desk is clean, and they'll be seated behind a desk shield. So this is a little bit what that looks like. We're getting new desk shields that are clear on every side. Those of you who have an elementary student, there have been some issues with the solid-sided desk shield. So we wanted to, as a district, make a better decision about what might be best for our classroom. So this is an elementary classroom because we don't have our clear desk shields yet in a McAuliffe classroom, but this is what they look like. And this is what it's going to look like when you come in. Mrs. Vienna and Miss Guardia are modeling for us. Temperature check, wrist or forehead. Symptom check. Hey, do you have any COVID symptoms? I like that headache is on there. Like I have a headache literally all day, every day, especially when cohort emails go out. Grab a wipe to go sanitize. So they grab one of those alcohol wipes that are 75% alcohol that meet the CDPH guideline for what counts as sanitizing a student desk area. They wipe their desk, their chair, and the sides of their desk shield to make sure that that is all clean. Then there'll be a different area designated for them to throw away the wipe, use hand sanitizer, and safely return back to their seat. If a student has fever or other symptoms, we have these different guides for both our office staff and our parents. You don't need to look at those right now. But without embarrassing the student, our teacher is going to ask the student to step to the side and discreetly direct them to our isolation room, which is in the front office. It used to be my office, if you're familiar with our campus. They're going to get a red slip that just kind of indicates that that they need to be looked at by our nurse. The nurse will give them an oral thermometer to kind of get a more accurate reading, because we all know that those forehead zappers aren't the most accurate things in the entire world. However, our teachers also have the professional discretion to really recognize, especially if a kid's coming from 0 period PE, or it's a really hot day and they're in cohort B, to wait off to the side a second, to catch their breath, to calm down, and do another temperature reading before we let them in the room. If the temperature is still above 100.3, they will be escorted down to the isolation room. That's our safety protocol, and parents will be contacted. As we talked about, every student must wear a mask the entire time that they are in class. So even when they're behind their desk shield, they must wear a mask. Every teacher will have 10 extra masks so they can provide a student with one as needed. Brown paper bags will also be available in the classroom so that they can remove a mask that maybe they've soiled for the day. I don't like using the word soiled. It made me a little uncomfortable because I have a 2-year-old. So a mask that they can no longer use will be removed and put in a brown paper bag. This is just our district, from our district plan about what's sanitized daily. And I'm gonna actually breeze past this slide because we talk about it more in the custodial checklist. But we are gonna encourage all teachers to keep their doors open to maximize airflow. And we've also changed out our air filters in the building to make sure that the airflow is optimized, or the proper MERV, I don't know the name, it's in the plan, MERV 13 filter is there to make sure that our airflow is up to the California Department of Public Health guidelines. Outdoor safety enhancements. We already talked about directional arrows. Hand washing stations are being delivered and strategically placed all over campus. 5 of our drinking fountains are being removed and replaced with water bottle filling stations, much like you would see at the elementary school. We want every student to bring a water bottle with their name on it. I feel like that's not something I need to say, but nonetheless, if you're out there and you're like, I just bought a great water bottle and I didn't put my kid's name on it, take a Sharpie right now after this meeting and write their name on it. Cups will be available though in the office and out in PE. We have some new outdoor learning spaces that classes will be able to use. Again, no student locker access, and grab and go lunch is only available at LAE. So if you're a child who would like to get a lunch at school, you'll be able to pick that up either before your B cohort or after A cohort at LAE. And that actually contains food that you would be able to freeze and use for the next couple days for lunch or breakfast. So that is available to you, and it is available to all of our students. So that is happening at LAE, and there's a later slide with that information too. So in class, students are behind these desk shields. And remember, when I took these pictures, it was before I knew that we were getting the ones with clear on the side. So that's gonna make it a lot better. But really, a child needs to be behind the desk shield at all times. If you look over here in this third picture of Miss Vienna and Miss Gardia, they are facing forward and they're not behind the desk shield. That's actually allowable as long as they're not talking. So they can turn to the side and see what their teacher is saying and attend to instruction. But before they speak, they either need to lean back behind their desk shield or even move and reposition their desk shield. I can hear you guys laughing even though you're all on mute because you have a middle schooler, I get it. But that is the safety protocol. We also allow students to slide their desk shield so that they're face to face so they can work collaboratively. Because remember, they have a mask on and a desk shield. So if they're talking through all of that, there's literally no way that they would be able to contaminate one another. All right, moving on. We are really pushing, as we always have, but now more than ever, bring your own device. So this slide is interactive. You can click on it to order our recommended Chromebook or to get our info on BYOD. But really, the Chromebook that either we issued you from our media center, that your child needs to bring that with them to school, fully charged every day, or a Chromebook or another device that you have for your student and your family needs to be charged and brought with them every day. We are currently out of Chromebooks as a school site. We checked out 400 of them. And so there will be some loaners available on campus that we're able to give a kid while they're here and collect back at the end of the day. But really, we feel like every family has what they need right now for accessing distance learning from home, obviously, because we've been doing it for 3 weeks. And so we ask that if you have a device that can be brought to school, that you really partner with us to make sure that your child is successful. Our teachers have been working tirelessly to bring a completely virtual curriculum. And so it's only natural that they're going to continue to use that, even as instruction returns to in-person. Asynchronous learning, all of that will be done virtually, and we really need Chromebooks and devices at school. I can't stress that enough. Please partner with us in helping make sure your child is successful. How are we doing on time? 9:37. All right, we're getting there. We talked about cleaning and disinfecting, and there's a nice little slide about that. Students are responsible for cleaning their desk area that they're going to sit in for that day. So we don't put that responsibility on somebody else. Talk to your kid. It's up to you, Johnny, that when you get to class and you get that alcohol wipe, that you clean your desk area really thoroughly. And if you want to send your kid to school with a little individual pack of sanitizing wipes, that's totally okay too. If you want to donate Clorox wipes to our classrooms, that's okay too. Anything that helps us keep it clean, but they're in middle school. And so we're really asking them to take on that responsibility for cleaning their own area. Additionally, they need to wear their mask the entire time that they're at school. The only exception is during physical exertion or when eating. So if a child has a snack during passing period, they are able to remove their mask to eat and pull it back up. Out at PE or maybe dancing, for choir or drama, they can pull if they're outside, they can pull their mask down when they're physically exhausted. Additionally, our teachers must work 6 feet from students. So that means most of their instruction is being delivered behind a 6-foot safety line. Their desk is behind a 6-foot safety line, and they are going to maintain that 6 feet of space. They may roam the classroom, but may not work with any one student longer than 15 minutes. A close contact with a person who has COVID is defined as being within 6 feet of somebody for 15 minutes or longer. So our teachers are going to be really mindful that they don't spend longer than 15 minutes with any one kid. All right. As I said before, it's a shared responsibility to make sure our campuses are sanitized and disinfected. Students will clean their individual desks and shields upon entering the classroom. That's sanitizing. Teachers will clean common spaces, individual teacher spaces, and supervise student cleaning. That's sanitizing. Our custodians will clean desks overnight using monofoil D or morning mist, which isn't on here, and will perform all cleaning duties on the daily checklist. That's really where we get into disinfecting. So the monofoil D and the morning mist are the disinfectant that our district is using to make sure that your classrooms are thoroughly cleaned overnight. We don't have the manpower or the time to do that in between class periods. It's a 7-minute passing period that only gives us enough time to make sure that common spaces are sanitized by a teacher. This is what the custodial checklist looks like. It's going to be posted in every single classroom, and you'll be able to visibly see that it's checked off and initialed just like you would at a gas station or at Nordstrom. Those are two different extremes of where a bathroom, of how clean a bathroom is, but you get the idea. Our classrooms are going to be cleaner than Nordstrom. You have my word on it. Inside every classroom, you're going to see a symptom checklist. We're going to have one door in our 2-door classrooms, which is most of them, one door designated for an entrance and one door designated as an exit. COVID warnings posted inside the classroom, and a classroom supply checklist that every teacher will have inside of their room. PE and performing arts. We're getting there, everybody. Hang in there. Masks may be removed temporarily during periods of physical exhaustion in PE. Backpacks will be kept outside during PE. Lockers will not be accessible. So we have a couple of ways that we're going to do this. We have hooks. So a student will be able to hang their backpack on a hook so that it's not just thrown in a pile on the ground, because we understand that their devices are in it. And they will be supervised when like security is out there, as well as our PE teachers are out there the whole time to make sure that things are safe. Expect in PE modified physical activity. We're not ready yet for students to be running the mile in a mask. We know that that's not realistic. Kids also don't have PE clothes. So on the days that they have PE, I would encourage you to send them in athletic wear. Put them in something more comfortable. Time to bust out their Nikes or whatever brand of shoe your family prefers, so that they are able to do more physical activities, but know that it's not going to be to the extent that PE was before. If it's raining or the air quality is poor, remember we have about 30 students in our cohorts, so we are going to be able to move into our multi-purpose room, our mini gym, or other large indoor areas. We're also putting up canopies and coverings over some of the PE areas, so 1 or 2 classes would be able to stay outside and avoid getting wet if it is raining. In performing arts, singing both inside and outside are currently not allowed under CDPH guidelines, but choreography and dancing are allowed. In band, playing a wind instrument like the clarinet or the flute or anything that you blow into are currently not allowed under CDPH guidelines, but string instruments that you would play in orchestra are allowed, as well as the drums or any non-wind instrument. When performing, students must wear masks and maintain 6 feet distance. In a classroom setting, our kids are going to follow their regular classroom guidelines. Now, that being said, there might be a time when a student is outside of their 6 feet and away from everybody else and outside, that we do allow them to remove their mask or maybe switch to a shield in drama to do a monologue, or in choir when singing is allowed, to be able to sing at a safe distance. Right now, singing is not allowed. I can't stress that enough. It's a real heartbreak for Shannon Wallace, our choir teacher. I understand that. But there will be times when outside, when 6 feet or more away from other students, they might be able to switch to a shield to be able to speak or do something in the performing arts. Student behavior expectations. Masks must be worn at all times. Attendance is taken in class and engagement is recorded at home. So all that means for you as a parent, I don't want you to stress about that, is that the work that your child does and submit like a regular deadline, we just record that as their asynchronous learning. You don't have to do anything special there. It's really just making sure, like you would in any other year, that a child is on top of their homework and on top of their individual assignments. Consequences, we are going to be offering virtual detention. I say offering like it's, you know, a prize at the fair. We are going to have a virtual detention that's going to take place online. But we're really going to be focusing on restorative practices and making sure that students understand the importance of digital citizenship and working with each other in a safe environment. As we said, asynchronous learning will be occurring. Cell phones must be turned off and put away when at school. And we're really looking at empathy this year. If you joined me in previous coffees with the principal, that is not something that we are losing sight of. We understand that the students that exist in today's world, just like all of us, adults alike, like 2020 has been really difficult for a lot of us. And we think that now more than ever is really a time to capitalize on our youth and with our adolescents and make sure that they learn what it means to be empathetic and to be loving toward each other, because this is not a time, this is a time that's really easy to be divided. And that is not the role of the middle school education system. It's not the role of our teachers. It's really about helping kids understand that character education piece and bringing them together to have empathy for their peers and for each other. Scenario chart, this is going to be included in our district reopening plan. I'm not going to read it, but it really maps out what happens if a student or a staff member has symptoms, that's the left side, or if they test positive, that's the right side, okay? That's been widely publicized. I'm not going to spend time right now going over it. We are COVID screening every single staff member, so this is just an FYI. Don't worry about the time. I used the same presentation with the staff yesterday. But from 12:30 to 3 today, every single staff member will have a COVID test. And last up is meals. So you're really looking right here at LAE, our adjoining campus, when you can pick up a meal for your child. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. It is 9:45. That's a lot of information, so I totally understand. I am going to open back up the chat. I believe Mrs. Olmsted and Mrs. Vienna have really been fielding a lot of questions for me throughout the presentation. But if you have a question that was not answered or you've been saving it, at this time, I am going to open up the chat and be able to respond to some of those questions out loud, all right? So going up here, I'm going to just start with KDG because I'm not going to be able to scroll back through the 100 posts that have happened. What is the proper protocol when you find that students are taking pictures during online classes, especially during PE when girls have their bottoms in the air? That is absolutely unacceptable. That needs to be reported immediately to me and Mrs. Vienna. And students' parents will be contacted, and there will be consequences for those actions. So please contact us directly if you know that that's happening. We do everything we can to make sure that no child is recording or taking pictures when they're doing their virtual classes. Who will clean books between classes and how? So great question. If it's a class set of books, that book will be on their desk. So when they enter the room, the child with that same sanitization wipe will be able to wipe down their book cover. A question to Shelby. I'll let Shelby field that. Thank you so much to the staff for all your hard work and dedication. The communication has been excellent, and I feel very comfortable sending my child back to school. Thank you, Foley. You rule. Thank you. Will an iPad be okay for an in-school device? Yes, you can use an iPad. Thank you. Great job. We appreciate you too, Bridget O'Brien. After-school program for parents that work 8 to 5. Great question. So our after-school program is called our Eagles Outpost, and that is currently running a wait list. However, we are committed to building in more staff and more rooms to be able to create the space for students, for families that need that care for their child before or after school. So continue to check back frequently and visit our website. We are making sure that that happens. Will students be guided on how to best clean their workstations after class? Absolutely. Teachers will do that work with students. Thank you for everything you're doing. You're absolutely welcome, Summer. You got it. Last coffee chat, you mentioned students will get mask breaks if needed. Good question, Andrea. How? So when a student's behind their desk shield and they're struggling, it is allowable for them to have a respite, because that's considered physical exertion, and pull their mask down, stay behind their desk shield, catch their breath, take a couple of good breaths, get back in the zone and pull it back up. If they need longer than that, all of our teachers are understanding and will let the child step outside, breathe in the fresh air, have no mask off for a minute or two before returning to class. So absolutely, we'll allow that. Unfortunately, Jilly, there is not school transportation right now. I liked calling you Jilly. It made it sound like we were very good friends, but that's what your Zoom name says. We are not able to provide transportation at this point under CDPH guidelines to our general ed students. That is a work in progress, and we are very hopeful that that will change. And trust me, as soon as it's allowed, we will make sure that transportation is available. Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate that. I apologize, I'm not uncomfortable. Does that mean I'm not super? No, you're super too. McAuliffe admins and teachers are top notch. That's very nice, Mai. Thank you. My daughter is so excited to be on campus on Tuesday. Well, we're excited to have your daughter on campus on Tuesday. Any consideration for changing the hybrid program to full days 2 times a week? And how long do you see the hybrid programming continuing? Ooh, sorry, I've been talking a lot. That's a good question. So there is no finite amount of time that the hybrid program is going to work. I will say this. We understand the strain, as I've said before, that this is for your family and that this is on our community. And we will not do hybrid longer than we think is necessary to have the proper safety protocol, procedures in place. What we really want to see happen is that we can safely have kids back on campus without there being any sort of an outbreak or needing to close down a classroom or anything like that. We really want to make sure that we do this well and we do this right. Now, we have negotiated a minimum of 4 weeks under the hybrid plan. So I will tell you that we start September 22nd. I don't know what 4 weeks is from there, but for at least 4 weeks, we will be in hybrid. Our elementary schools have been open, as you all know, if you have an elementary kid. And so we're really going to look at them for their guidance and what's been working well, and we'll kind of follow suit and make sure that we do it well and do it responsibly. So a minimum of 4 weeks. Thank you for the thank yous and the positive shout outs. That's great. I'm not going to read all of them. I appreciate it a lot. But I'm going to go to the questions. Next question, how many students do we need to be able to open another online classroom? Currently, Los Al at Home is full. And so if you can picture with our existing staff, what we had to do was take the staff that we had and the students that we had and puzzle piece it together to make sure that Los Al at Home was well staffed. So at this time, there's a wait list for Los Al at Home, and there is no number of students that we would need to open another online classroom. At the middle school level, we really will look at making sure that we do that mindfully. Our board is committed to exploring more sections of Los Al at Home when it is needed. And so as that wait list kind of forms over time, our district leadership and our school board will be looking to make those really important decisions. That's not up to me. I do know that we're one of the only people or one of the only districts that has offered this completely virtual option and made it available to families in August so that you would have a chance to make those choices. And we're going to work really hard to accommodate those of you who might be changing your mind now. What if we do not feel safe for students to return? What are your options other than sign up for the waitlist for Los Al at Home? How is that not a denial of faith? That's an interesting question, AC, and I would encourage you to email me directly. But I will say this, as I just stated, the option was made for every family to be able to join Los Al at Home. And to stay in our traditional pathway, you were recognizing and accepting the fact that we would be earnestly making every effort to bring kids back to school. That is something that we have said from the very beginning. That's in our district reopening plan. That's something that I have said on multiple occasions. And so I get it that this is happening faster than some of us anticipated. However, that is also what we're currently faced with and the situation that we currently find ourselves in. I'm seeing the thank yous. Thank you so much for saying that. I see another question about how long hybrid will exist. I think that I answered this a little bit earlier. A minimum of 4 weeks. And so we just need to make sure that things happen safely and that there's not any breakouts, that people aren't really getting sick, and that system is working before we bring the rest of our kids on for our full day schedule. Thank you very much, Renata, for the kind words. Students can wear gloves during school. Absolutely. Feel free to wear gloves. Thank you so much, Colleen. Absolutely. Many surrounding districts are very envious of the work that we've done quickly and truthfully, tirelessly. And that's not me. That's the district level. That's everybody working weekends to make sure that this happens for our families, because that's what we really believe in. Any chance of study hall before or after school? not under the hybrid model. So we're not going to be able to offer study halls before or after school because that's another point of contact for kids with other kids and with the teacher. So under our hybrid model, we're really looking to limit that. So at this time, we're not going to be able to do that. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. With asynchronous, will there be assignments for each class? Will it be daily due dates or will each class require different deadlines, etc.? Good question, Lisa. So asynchronous work, again, I just want you guys to think of it as homework and as at-home work. And so an English teacher, it's not realistic for them to assign maybe a heavier paper or a bigger assignment and have it be due the very next day. So that would be 20 minutes a day working on one assignment that might not be due until Friday. So it will function more like homework. It's just going to be labeled a little bit differently with those time restrictions. Why students are attending period 1 every day under the hybrid model? Good question. So Rachel asked why students are attending period 1 every day under the hybrid model. Because, and I'd like to pull up the schedule just so you can really picture it. Hold on a second. Because we have an odd period day. So we have 7 periods a day. It does not work feasibly to do like the same amount of classes in the morning and in the afternoon. And we can't really snake it because no matter what you do in an AM PM model, you have that odd man out class. So let's say we have 4 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, and the next day we do 4 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. It doesn't end up lining up, and the times become so inconsistent that we don't feel that that's what's best for families. And so first period has an extra 5 minutes padded into it to make sure that temperature checks can be taken and announcements can be made, and they'll still see their first period teacher for the same amount of time as they do the other classes. It's just spread out. So I apologize that it's not perfect. I wish it could have been better. Oh man, I closed the chat and I lost my place. Do you have a playbook for secondary exposure in the family? Let's say parent had an exposure to positive tested person, but does not experience any symptoms. What should the child do, attend school or not? So that actually is addressed, Renata, in our flow chart. So go to the district reopening plan in the appendix. I don't want to quote it now because I don't want to say something that's not correct, but that is in there. So make sure you check that out. All right, going on. Period 1, we took it. Can students wear disposable gloves during class? Absolutely, gloves are okay. Will teachers post daily homework assignments online? Teachers will only post online for the classes that they saw that day, okay? Teachers will only post online for the classes they saw that day. Can students bring their textbooks to school? Absolutely, Desiree. So if you want to bring your own textbook instead of using the books provided, absolutely, just know that we don't have lockers. So that is going to be there. So AC, it seems like you have a question that you'd like to discuss directly with me. I'll look for your email. No worries. My email is rweiswright@losal.org. You can also reply to any of my Parent Square messages. It's also posted on our website. All right, looks like we're getting a lot of questions answered. If the custodians disinfect at the end of the day, and I do want to say, if you don't have a question, it is 10 o'clock. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. You're outstanding. Don't feel like you need to stay for me to go through the questions, but I'm going to stay on. Instagram is going to clock out. So Instagram, we appreciate you being on there. We are going to transition over to Zoom because I have an hour limit on my Instagram. So if the custodians disinfect at the end of the day, does it seem as though students in cohort A are safer? I understand that perspective, absolutely. However, if you think about it, students will be rotating through their classes after other classes have been there regardless. There really just isn't time to use the disinfectant. The disinfectant also has a really strong smell and stays wet, and it has to sit overnight in order for kids to be ready to use it the next day. How many students will need to get COVID-19 at school for hybrid to get shut down? The last I heard, and this is not a district decision, this is from the state, was 5%. I'm not sure if that's still correct, but that was what I heard at one point from the governor. Will the district tell us if there's a COVID case on campus? Not on campus, but if your child has had contact, you definitely get a letter, just like, like in the days of notifying parents about lice. Now we are going to be telling you about COVID cases. After each yeah, okay. Going through questions. Great job. Thanks to everyone. Mental health. Mental health is the most important. Thank you. We're going to keep working on that. Can my student be changed to cohort A? No, unfortunately, at this time, we're not making any cohort changes. If PE is able to go mask-free, why can't the band play wind instruments while social distancing? Band is a great outlet for our kids. I totally agree, and I wish that they could. And trust me, Mr. Fontaine wishes that they could as well. The CDPH guidelines currently prohibit playing wind instruments, and so we're working on that. Mr. Fontaine is like an advocate for it, so he's continuing to have those conversations, and as soon as it's allowable, we'll be able to do that. And just so everybody knows, our district is not setting the guidelines. These are guidelines that are set forth by the California Department of Public Health that we follow because we're a public institution. And so in some ways that's frustrating. In other ways, it's a relief because, gosh, if I was making those decisions, it would really stress me out. But we do follow CDPH guidelines. For those students taking a class at LoSal, where do they check in when they arrive at McAuliffe? Great question. So thank you. Some kids, a lot of our 8th graders, some 7th graders take like Spanish 2 honors or a class at the high school. When they arrive, we encourage you not to arrive until 2nd period. But if you arrive early, you'll do that same thing where you go to the attendance window, let Ms. Johnson know that you're here, and then you'll be able to hang outside until your class starts. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Do kids still dress out for PE and then keep dirty clothes in their backpacks? No. So PE locker rooms are closed. So on a day that your kid has PE, we encourage you to send them in something comfortable and more athletic so that they'd be able to exercise in it. Why can't we buy cameras for your classrooms and have them pointed at the teachers so that kids can still stay at home? That's an interesting question. As I've addressed before, the design of the LoSal at Home program was for those families who were concerned with returning to campus. And that was made available to all families, and the deadline was extended multiple times to increase those opportunities to enroll in LoSal at Home. And we're still trying to make accommodations for every family who might want to make a switch. We don't believe that it's best instruction for some students to be in class and some students to be at home happening in tandem at the same time. That's a very nuanced skill. We do have that happening in some places, like at the high school for like an AP biology class that maybe you only have one section of, or like something really nuanced. But it's not ideal. And so at this time, the model that we're presenting, the model that we're offering does call for in-person hybrid instruction. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the positivity. How many students are enrolled in the hybrid model at McAuliffe? Great question. Just under 900. Just under 900 students will be returning for in-person instruction. What if cohort B conflicts with parent work schedule? Can it be changed? No, unfortunately, we cannot change the times for cohort A or cohort B, and we can't switch cohorts. We understand, and I've spoken to this already, that it's really difficult to manage as a family, and so we appreciate your flexibility. And please just know that we are extending our childcare options, and we're working really hard on making sure that every kid does have somewhere to go to be able to handle it. Sorry, I missed it. What time will the gate be open for cohort B students who have 0 period? Great question. So 0 period starts at 11:50. They'll open the gate at 11:45. Jinky Steinberg, so that, and that they'll only be through the Bloomfield gate. I missed the deadline. Oh, I'm so sorry. Logging off. Thank you so much for an informative meeting. You got it. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you. Communication is great, and I hope kids safe. Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for the positivity. We appreciate it. Okay, my daughter has attendance aid for 3rd period. What will she be doing during this time? She will be, great question. She will be coming to our office and assisting with attendance. We're not going to send her into classrooms, but if she does need to deliver a pink slip or deliver a message, there will be a clip available for her to clip it onto the door and then knock and make sure that the teacher then comes out and gets it, because we want to decrease her points of contact. So that was a question from V. Val Dovinos, which is fun to say. How is the school going to help parents that lose their job for having to take their kids to school at 8 a.m. and pick them up at 11:15 a.m.? So IN, it seems like you have a lot of energy around the hybrid schedule, and I hear you, and I apologize for the difficulty that this is presenting for your family. I would encourage you to contact me directly, as I don't feel that the Zoom forum is the right time to discuss any personal matters pertaining to you and your job. Thank you so much, everybody, for the positivity. Thank you. All right. Thanks, you guys. Will students need to bring their band instruments every day? My son plays electric bass and has the bass and amp. Can he leave it at school during the week? Typically, yes, we do allow students to leave their instruments. Just contact Mr. Fontaine directly and just let him know so that he can help you navigate kind of that specific question. All right, guys, we are at 10:03, which I'm really pleased with that it's been an hour. I'm going to say thank you all for your partnership, for your support, for your flexibility, for understanding and believing that we really want what's best for all kids, and really just for knowing that we're doing the best that we can. And I know that it's not perfect, and we just really appreciate you rolling with us. I am available, so email me. That's the best way to reach me because we're in and out of meetings, but you can also call the office, and I will make sure to address some of your questions and concerns that maybe we weren't able to get to in today's Zoom. But thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We really appreciate you, and we hope that you have a fabulous day. We'll see you on campus. Not you guys, you're not allowed, but we'll see your kids on campus on the 22nd. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And with that, I am going to sign off. So thank you. Have a great day.